Hello and welcome to my office. If you're interested in strategy in pharma, medtech and other life science industries, then you're in the right place. Please like, subscribe and share this with any other life science strategists that you know. And if you want to know more about me, my work in this area and my 300 other publications, then there's a link to my website below. There are three basic truths about competitive strategy in our industry and indeed most others. First, success depends upon capabilities. Firms win when they are better than their rivals at doing what the market needs. Second, success is a moving target. As the market changes, so do the capabilities that firms need to succeed. Third, the first two truths mean that sustained success demands continuous evolution of a firm's capabilities. Capability evolution is difficult in any industry, but perhaps especially so in ours, and for the last 25 years my research has tried to understand how the best life science firms manage to continuously evolve their capabilities. In this seminar, the third in a series of 4, I describe what I found in that area. In the first seminar I described how each of the industry's 26 business models has a distinctive set of capabilities and how they flow from organisation routines and their microfoundations. If you haven't seen that, then please take a look at my capabilities count seminar. Then in the second seminar I described the three kinds of capabilities, hygiene, differentiating and dynamic, that firms need to compete in our industry. Again, if you haven't seen that, then you might want to take a look at my choosing capabilities seminar. In this third seminar I'm going to talk about how life science firms engineer their routines and microfoundations to create those new capabilities. In the fourth, I'll talk about how they sustain the evolution of their capabilities over the long term. It's obvious, isn't it, that your market will be different tomorrow compared to today, which means that your capabilities will need to adapt and evolve. For example, if future innovations will only be rewarded when they demonstrate value, then your future business model must be capable of demonstrating customer perceived value. Equally, if your future market will be more fragmented into specialist niches, then your future success depends on finding small populations of patients and creating value propositions specific to those niches. In many different ways, your capabilities will be different tomorrow from your capabilities today, even if your current capabilities are excellent. And to have any hope of surviving, you're going to have to know what your future business model will look like and what capabilities it will need. If you remember my earlier seminars, I talked about any business model having a capabiliome, that is a complete complement of capabilities, and how your capabiliome needed to be better than that of your competitors. But knowing what capabilities you need is only the start. You then need to build the capabilities that you're lacking. And to do that, you need to understand how capabilities flow from organizational routines and their microfoundations. Every capability that your company has or will have is the result of a process involving many different actions by many different people. And every process you have is made up of many little sub-processes, which we call organizational routines. For example, your firm will have a routine to collate market size and share information from research data, to gather feedback from KOLs, and a routine to identify competitor activity. Together, these and other routines will combine to create a market analysis process. And from that process flows the capability to create important market insights. Other processes involving other organizational routines create other capabilities, such as those for designing and executing omni-channel campaigns, or processes for demonstrating superior health economic outcomes. But processes only create capabilities if they include all of the necessary organizational routines. Without a routine to gather unspoken customer needs, for example, business intelligence processes produce information but no insight. Without a routine for creating synergy between channels, omni-channel campaign design processes produce nothing more than an incoherent jumble of activity. And without a routine for understanding how payers perceive value, brand teams offer valueless propositions to the market. So, how can we know if a process has all the routines it needs to create the capability that you need? Well, business processes are in effect like algorithms that use knowledge, And effective processes use knowledge in a cycle of 4 steps. If any of these 4 steps is missing or weak, the process fails. For example, a business intelligence process that gathered and shared market knowledge but lacked a routine for finding market insight among that knowledge would just generate piles of not very useful information. In the same way, a value demonstration process that gathered, shared and used health economic data but lacked a routine for deploying it into peer communications would be a waste of time. This 4-phase perspective helps you to see what new or adapted organisation routines you need to create the new capabilities that you need. But of course, that raises another question. How do you design those new routines? When a firm talks about having innovation or patient centricity or ethical behaviour as part of its DNA, the metaphor is closer to the truth than they realise. Their organisation routines act just like genes. They store information, and just like genes, routines can be copied and sometimes captured from outside the organisation. But there's another important parallel between routines and genes too. Just as a functioning gene requires a particular sequence of 4 nucleotides, each functioning routine requires a specific set of 4 microfoundations. If you want to know more about these microfoundations and how they make organisation routines work, get in touch and I'll send you an article about that. But what I want you to grasp right now is that just like genes, a missing or defective microfoundation means an ineffective routine. And that in turn means that the process won't work very well and you won't have the capability you need, at least not to the extent that you need it. So if you're an experienced manager, you will certainly recognise the way that these 4 microfoundations impact upon organisational capabilities. So for example, if your individual attribute microfoundations don't include the skills to synthesise quantitative and qualitative data together, you won't have the capability to create market insight. If your group process microfoundations don't include a strong group process for segmentation, you won't have the capability to target your marketing resources effectively. If your conflict management microfoundations don't create constructive conflict among your team, you won't have the capability to create compelling value propositions. And if your team structure microfoundations don't let knowledge flow across functional boundaries, then you won't have the capability to create strong brand strategies. And when I find a weak routine, it is always because of a missing or ineffective microfoundation. As one of my research respondents expressed it, the idea that capabilities have their origins in processes made up of routines and built on microfoundations allows managers to make capability development a science rather than an art. In one sense, I'm not saying anything new here. Experienced leaders in pharma and medtech already know that their firm's success depends on being more capable than their competitors. They also know that sustained success depends on sustained capability development. And they also know that new and strong capabilities don't arise spontaneously from putting good people in a room and hoping some magic will happen. But when I ask experienced life science leaders how they create and adapt capabilities they need, they're less certain. They fall back on intuition and gut feel, usually codified with crude tools like job descriptions and standing operating procedures. In my research, I looked inside the heads of these leaders and tried to make sense of their tacit, subconscious knowledge. I learned that microfoundations shape routines, routines aggregate into processes, and processes create capabilities. How this happens is analogous to how nucleotides make genes that express proteins that create a phenotype. And just as a single nucleotide can cause serious health issues, a single defective microfoundation can seriously affect a competitive strategy. It is these research findings that make it possible to find and fix these problems about how you adapt and create the competitive capabilities that you need. Thanks for your interest in my work. In these short seminars, I can only share the tip of the iceberg of my research. If you'd like to know more, send me an email or leave a comment and we can get set up for a virtual cup of tea. And if you think others that you know would find this seminar useful, please share it on LinkedIn.